Hey again, and welcome to Reading Rule, y'all. This is the third video in our four-part series on J.R. Jamison's memoir, Hillbilly Queer. And this reaction feels, a little more personal than others, I reckon. But this is a reaction coming from somebody whose 10-year 4-H plaque sits next to a signed picture of Donald Trump in the dining room curio cabinet in the house where I grew up. And so this book and Jamison's attempt to build bridges with his dad across their political differences felt really familiar to me and also really important to me. Mostly because on more than one occasion, I have felt guilty for not cutting ties with my Trump-supporting family. Through various conversations, I've done my best to discuss my position and explain the issues I take with Trump and his various problematic statements, views, and policies. My family has done the same, and most of us have refused to change our minds. I somewhat understood where my family were coming from during Trump's run, much like Jamison's dad and the folks they met along the way in Missouri. A lot of my family are farmers and factory workers who miss and lament the days where you can make a pretty good living off of that kind of work. When that work was reliable and there weren't layoffs around every corner. Or, for example, factories closing down, like the factory in the tiny town where most of my family has worked for a majority of their lives. They were tired of feeling like other politicians didn't care about and insisted on talking down to them. They wanted someone who talked to them like they talked to one another, shooting straight without sugarcoating, and they believed that Trump fit that bill. It wasn't that they necessarily agreed with his racist, homophobic, ableist, and misogynist comments and beliefs. It was that they were willing to overlook those in favor of returning jobs and much-needed capital to their lives and families. As Jamison points out, conversations around these topics are emotional labor, and sometimes it's okay to pick and choose your battles. It takes a lot of effort sometimes to engage in dialogue rather than just unfollowing family members whose posts feel offensive and or represent viewpoints I find untenable. But I try not to do it because they're family, and I know it's more complicated than that. This book really validated that for me in important ways. Short note, I fully support cutting ties with someone you feel is toxic and brings nothing but sadness and negativity to your life. However, like Jamison, I refuse to believe that unfriending, unfollowing, and shutting out folks whose viewpoints are different than mine in ways that I feel are immensely problematic is helpful at all. It can't possibly be helpful. And that's what I loved about this book. Jamison paints a picture of the challenges of doing this work through language that's at times cheeky, sometimes frank, sometimes self-deprecating, and always lovely. I felt like he was just talking to me over coffee about our shared experiences, and I can't tell you how much that made me appreciate reading this book. And I wholeheartedly recommend it and hope you pick it up. Thanks for stopping by. That's it for today. Join us next time where I outline some teaching ideas for Hillbilly Queer and also for our next author talk with Jamison himself. So y'all come back now, would you?